Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. As always, I'm here to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. If you haven't already, please like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. We're coming up on 6,000 subscribers. Really appreciate your help in getting there. Also, by liking and subscribing, we could get more free content like this out to you on a regular basis. If you haven't already, also check the links in the description below. Become a member of Occupy Fantasy today. You get access to the model you see here, a single lineup builder, multi-lineup builder, private Discord server full of seasoned DFS pros to help you improve your game. We also have a 30-minute window leading up to each slate's lock where you can ask your lineup and slate-specific questions. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the slate here. We got 9 games, a lot to get through. Unfortunately, there are a bunch of teams on back-to-backs, so as of 10:30 a.m. Eastern, we don't have all the injury news we need, but I'll do my best to go through team by team. I'm going to build a lineup on FanDuel and DraftKings slowly as we talk through, let you guys know the plays that I'm prioritizing, also the news we need to keep an eye on. All right, so we got a 9-game slate here. First game on the slate, we have the Bulls at the Pistons. The Pistons 6-point underdogs at home, 222-point game total here. So starting on the Chicago side of things, they are on a back-to-back. We don't have their injury report. I don't really expect anyone major to be sitting here. DeRozan, Vooch, Levine should all be in and healthy. If any one of those three is out, the other two become extremely viable as borderline core options, but I expect them all to play. They're all kind of priced where they should be. Don't mind DeRozan over on ZK where he's sub 8K. If you're getting Levine, Vooch, DeRozan, they're all solid plays, but really nothing I could call a priority. As far as secondary options go, with Patrick Beverly joining that backcourt, that's going to cut into the upside of guys like Kobe White, Ayo Sumu, and Alex Caruso. So I'm really not rushing to get to any of them as secondary plays. It's the big three for Chicago here, but it's tough to call any of them priorities unless one ends up ruled out. As things stand, DeRozan's probably my favorite of that group, but again, not really a priority play for me today. So moving over to the Detroit side of things, we have Bojan Bogdanovic listed as probable. Still no Jalen Duren. Obviously, Cade Cunningham still out. Isaiah Livers is now doubtful. Nerlens Noel has been waived, and Isaiah Stewart is out as well. So yeah, with Stewart out and Duren out, obviously there's going to be some extra minutes and usage to go around in that front court. We're looking at James Wiseman as the starting center here now. Nice to see him getting a new opportunity. I really like him on DK today, where he's only 4,800, 5,800 on FanDuel. A little bit tougher to stomach, but I'll go ahead and pencil him in on DK. The thing about using Durant, or not Durant, the thing about using Wiseman over on FanDuel is not only are you paying 1K more than you are on DraftKings, you're also using up that one center spot. I like on DK that you could play two centers, so I'm more comfortable going to someone like Wiseman here. Um, yeah, with Bojan back in, I mean, that's going to cut into some of the usage for the other starters. I don't mind Bojan. Just because forwards are pretty thin position. If Killian Hayes is starting at point guard, he's fine on both sides. Much better on DK where he's only 5,300. Jaden Ivey should be back. He looks fine on both sides. Very scoring dependent though. High ceiling, low floor. Marvin Bagley, better if he starts, but he's viable value regardless. Much better on DK where he's sub 5K, but he's center only as well. So I'm really not rushing to get to him. Alex Burks only 4,300. Hamadou Diallo only 4,600 over on DraftKings. Both of these guards are appealing to me. For Detroit on DraftKings, but keep an eye on that starting lineup. I mean, the good news is it is the first game on the slate, so we should know who's going to slide in there. But if you see Burks or Diallo starting alongside Hayes, I think either would be a priority for me here. And even Burks at 4,300 coming off the bench definitely has some appeal. If he starts 5,100 on FanDuel, I could stomach that as well. But as things stand, I mean, Wiseman's really the prize here, if you want to call him that. I don't mind Diallo. Would prefer to see him starting though, so we kind of have to wait and see on Detroit. But other than Wiseman on DK, no major priorities. Moving into the next game on the slate now, we have. Looks like the injury report might be out of order. That's okay. We got the Suns at the Hornets. Suns are 10-point favorites on the road, 229-point game total here. So the big news is Kevin Durant should be available tonight. He is listed as probable. Joshua Okogie also available. Landry Shamet is out. So this is as healthy as Phoenix has been all season, and now they have Kevin Durant in the fold. Obviously, he's going to cut into the usage of players like Booker, Paul, Ayton, etc. I actually think Ayton's going to start to produce better with Durant in the lineup. I don't know that we see that today, but it is an excellent matchup here against Charlotte. KD, I mean, I don't think they're going to let him go his full run. When he was in Brooklyn, he was pushing 40 minutes a night. I think we could see him just over 30 here. I don't mind him as a tournament piece, but really he's tough to prioritize in his first game here. Booker, He's overpriced now that KD's in the lineup. Borderline viable on DK. Probably not someone I get to. Don't mind Ayton, but there are plenty of good centers on this slate, so I'm probably not getting to him either. So really, with this team healthy, everyone's kind of priced where they should be. It is a great matchup against the Hornets, but it's tough for me to want to prioritize anything now that KD's in the lineup and taking up a lot of that usage. So we can move over to the Charlotte side of things. This is going to be a tricky one. We got LaMelo Ball out, James Bouknight out, Theo Maledon out, Cody Martin out, and PJ Washington doubtful. Yeah, so LaMelo Ball unfortunately hurt his ankle again. He's likely to be done for the season. What that does first and foremost is provides a major boost to Terry Rozier as the primary ball handler. At only 7,200 on DK, I do consider him kind of a borderline core play. There's obviously some blowout risk here, but at the same time, I mean, they are hosting the Suns. The Suns had to travel across the country. Wouldn't shock me if this game stayed a little bit closer than people are expecting. So I like Rozier. I think he's fine on FanDuel as well at 8,200. Obviously, where you're getting him 1K cheaper, he's going to be more appealing on DraftKings. Dennis Smith Jr. should now be viable as well as the backup point guard. The issue though is that he's been priced up. He's still drawing a lot of ownership. Don't mind him at 5,100 on DK. 6,100 on FanDuel certainly feels too expensive. I'd actually rather go to Gordon Hayward as a wing. 6,400 DK, 6,700 on FanDuel. I could actually go ahead and pencil him in on FanDuel just because we're not getting that major discount on Rozier, but if you want to get some of this upside that's available with Ball out of the lineup, I think you can go to a thin, small forward position, grab someone like Gordon Hayward. Not really calling him a core play. I'm just penciling him in for now. Could see myself pulling him as we talk through the rest of this video. Mark Williams in the front court, a little bit inconsistent. He gets in foul trouble sometimes, and when he does, Nick Richards goes off. But on most nights, we're going to see Mark Williams continue to put up solid numbers. Don't mind him as a center play. But really, if we're talking priorities here, it's Terry Rozier more so on DK. I like Gordon Hayward on both sides. And Dennis Smith Jr. looks fine, but I think he's a little bit overpriced for how much ownership he's drawing. So I'm really not rushing to get to him as well. The other thing to keep in mind is with PJ Washington out, there is some extra usage to go around on the wing. So we're already benefiting from Ball being out, but also with Washington out as well. That's going to help the wings like Hayward. And Oubre has been somewhat limited, but as he starts to ramp up his minutes, he could become interesting as well. So again, Rozier's a priority here. Really like Hayward on both sides. Mark Williams is fine, but wouldn't call him a core priority. Moving into the 7:30 window now, we have the Nets at the Knicks. The Knicks are 7.5 point favorites at home. 222.5 point game total. The Nets are on a back-to-back. I don't think they're going to be resting anyone. Ben Simmons is going to be out for a while. Not that that really moves the needle much. Nick Claxton coming off an excellent game. I do like his price a lot on DK at 6,400. I think he's fine on FanDuel as well. We're getting him sub 10% at 7,400. Spencer Dinwiddie, decent option, price reasonably, pretty inconsistent though. Same with Mikal Bridges. I like the price. Don't love how inconsistent he can be for fantasy purposes. Cam Johnson starting, scoring dependent guard, he's viable. But really, I mean, the Nets look okay here. There's just nothing really standing out. It's just a lot of pretty good players now on this team, so it's tough to know on any given night who's going to go off. I do think Claxton's going to continue to be their best fantasy producer, but on a back-to-back in a tough matchup, I don't know that I'm rushing to get to him, but he's certainly probably my favorite net play this evening. We can move over to the Knicks side of the ball now. We have Miles McBride out, and then a bunch of other G Leaguers are out as well, so nothing we really need to talk about too much. Julius Randle looks good here. He's had some big games against Brooklyn in the past, 9,500 on both sides. I certainly think he's in play. Jalen Brunson, 8,400 on FanDuel, 86 over on DK. Very strong guard option as well. There's a lot of good pay-up guards on the slate. If you can't quite get there, someone like Jalen Brunson is a strong pivot, especially in larger field tournaments. Don't mind Mitchell Robinson at center. Claxton has been a good defensive player, but that doesn't mean that opposing centers haven't been putting up fantasy numbers. So I don't mind Robinson here. RJ Barrett looks good, but not that good. Yeah, he's just a little bit overpriced. The usage has been down. And with Josh Hart now in the fold, he's seeing even less touches than he was earlier in the season. So really, I like Randall. I like Brunson. Don't mind Robinson if you're playing a bunch of lineups, but it's tough to call anything a priority on the Knicks here either. So moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Celtics hosting the Cavs. Celtics 5 point favorites at home, 218.5 point total here. So one of the lower totals on the slate. We'll start on the Boston side of the ball. Jaylen Brown missed last game, but it was only for a personal reason. He will be back tonight. He is fully healthy, so the rest of this team, they're pretty much fully healthy as well, other than Mike Muscala, who's listed as questionable. He's not even a full rotational piece right now, though, so I don't know that we need to get to him. Tatum's fine. Whenever you can get him low owned, he obviously has a very high ceiling. He makes sense as a tournament play. Jaylen Brown, coming off a game that he missed, he's okay here. Robert Williams, Horford, Smart, White, Brogdon. I could see mixing any of those guys into your tournament builds, but I wouldn't call any of them priorities here in a very tough matchup against the Cavs. So over on the Cavs side of things, no major news. Dylan Windler is down with the G League. So yeah, nothing we really need to dig too deep in here. Donovan Mitchell looks fine, kind of an expensive guard. Darius Garland, similar profile. They both look okay here. Tough matchup with Boston though. Again, this is a very low total. If I'm playing any cab, it's probably Evan Mobley. I like Evan Mobley, excuse me. I like that power forward eligibility. He's flashed a pretty high ceiling at times. So he's fine in tournaments. Don't mind Jared Allen either, but there's just a ton of good center plays on the slate. So really, there's nothing for Cleveland I'm prioritizing tonight. That shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone, though, again, as this is one of the lowest total games on the board. Moving into another low total game, we have the Heat hosting the 76ers. Sixers 2-point favorites on the road, just a 215.5 point game total here. We can start with Miami. Yeah, so no Jovic. Jamal Cain is out. Kevin Love is listed as probable. Kyle Lowry's still out. Max Strus is questionable. So most of the big names are healthy. That's Bam, Butler, Hero. They all look solid. Really not rushing to get to any of them. If I'm playing Butler, it's probably only on DK where he's 9K flat, 10-3 over on FanDuel. I just don't see much of a reason to get to him over there, even though he's coming off an awesome game. Tyler Hero, scoring dependent but a high ceiling. He's viable, not a priority. Bam Adebayo, priced about where he should be. Obviously some upside, but a tough matchup with Philly and Embiid. So not someone I'm rushing to get to. Gabe Vincent with Kyle Lowry out, 4,700 on DK makes him an interesting value play. He hasn't been producing at a very high level, just hasn't seen much usage, even with the starting unit. So no real surprise there, but at the same time, I do think he's okay if you're landing on him. But really, no priorities for me here from the Miami Heat unless we get someone ruled out throughout the day. So now we can move over to the Philly side of things. Dwayne Dedmon's out. That's really the only piece of significant injury news. So another healthy team. Yeah, a lot of healthy teams now coming out of the All Star break. It's good to see. But at the same time, a lot of these guys are overpriced. Embiid, obviously one of the higher ceilings on the board tonight. I think he's fine anywhere you can afford him. Not going to force him in. There are other payups I like and a lot of good mid-range plays. Not a ton of great value has opened up yet. So Embiid's good, but not a priority. James Harden, similar story. About priced where he should be. Decent upside, but in a tough matchup, he's tough to call a priority play. Melton feels a little bit too cheap if he's going to be starting over on DK, but he's inconsistent. Tobias Harris, similar story, inconsistent, but has upside at that DK price. Not really interested in either of these guys over on FanDuel. And then Tyrese Maxey, we know he can flash a ceiling. Not a play I'm really interested in tonight, but it wouldn't shock me if he had a good game here. Again, another low total game. It's really tough to want to get too much from a DFS angle from all these teams. That are healthy and in tough defensive matchups. So we can move into the 8 o'clock window now. We have the Lakers at the Thunder. The Lakers are 1 point favorites on the road against OKC. So this is going to be a tricky one because both of these teams are on back to backs. Let's take a look at the game total too. 229.5. So decent game total. Let's start with the Lakers here. Oh, that's not the Lakers. That's Houston. If we start with the Lakers here, some of the biggest not biggest, some of the most popular value plays on the slate. No surprises here. Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, Dennis Schroeder, three of the chalkier value options. I think as things stand, you almost just pencil these guys in and build elsewhere. Like, I don't know, until we get more value. If you're going to want to be paying up for a couple guys, you're going to need some of these value pieces. I don't feel great about any of them. I do think they're all solid, though. Vanderbilt on FanDuel, not as good as he is on DK. I don't know that you need to get to him at 5,900, but he's at least viable. We saw Austin Reeves have a really strong game last night. He could be fine here as well. He's priced up, though, at 4,600. So Schroeder and Beasley are really the priorities for me over on FanDuel. I like Vanderbilt as well. And then all three of them on DK are going to look good. So let's just go ahead and pencil them in. I got Beasley, Schroeder, Vandy. Yeah, and then if we can afford him, Anthony Davis obviously looks excellent here as well. With LeBron James out of the lineup, certainly easier to get to over on DK if we're talking in terms of price, but he has power forward eligibility on FanDuel, so I like him over there as well. Even at 11.5, I think he has one of the higher ceilings on the board. I think he plays on the back-to-back. Just keep an eye on that. He's not on the injury report right now, but there is no injury report for LA. They need to win every game they can, though, especially with LeBron out of the lineup. So I think it's more likely than not that we see AD play here on the back to back. It's been a while since the Lakers have had a back to back, so it's tough for me to say that for certain. But again, they're kind of in a must-win situation already. I expect we see Davis suit up tonight, and he's going to look like a strong play everywhere. So just to recap quickly, Beasley, Vanderbilt, Schroeder, all three of those guys are excellent on both sides. Vanderbilt certainly more so on DK, but I don't mind him on FanDuel. Uh, Austin Reeves, really decent secondary option. Don't mind Lonnie Walker either. I prefer Reeves of the two, but as a last man in, these are guys with upside. With LeBron out of the lineup, there's just so much usage to go around. All right, now we can talk about the OKC side of things. I don't expect we see SGA. He should be out for a few more games, I think. With him out of the lineup, we've seen major boosts in usage for Lou Dort and Josh Giddey, though they both look solid here. Isaiah Joe, if he continues to slide in that starting lineup, he's been shooting lights out from three. I think you could get to him, scoring dependent, pretty low floor, but 4,500 on DK, that certainly feels too cheap. The real reason to like Dort is that small forward is once again one of the thinner positions on the slate. I think Giddey has the higher ceiling. He's also 2K more expensive, give or take, and at a more loaded position of point guard, shooting guard. So Dort's probably my favorite OKC player. Giddy not far behind. Really like Isaiah Joe if he starts over on DK. And then yeah, I mean you could get to maybe someone like Kenrich Williams as a last man in, but I wouldn't call him our priority. But we like Giddy, we like Dort, we like Joe. Joe more so on DK. The 5,400 on FanDuel is fine, but I'm kind of hoping we get more guard value in that range throughout the rest of the day. So a good game to target, but we're waiting on news, so proceed with caution there. And that is the theme for the next few games here. We got the Grizzlies at the Rockets. Rockets are 10-point underdogs at home, 230.5 point game total here. Another matchup featuring two teams on back to back, so it makes it really tough to talk through this. Um, I think we see Kevin Porter come back tonight. He was a rumor to come back last night that he didn't play. So Porter could be back here, which is going to cut into the usage for everyone else. If Porter's out again, I could see going back to Tyree Eason on DK at just 4,100. Really solid game, very high fantasy point per minute rate. When he gets the minutes, he puts up good fantasy scores. It's just with this team healthy, I don't know that you can count on those minutes consistently. KJ Martin, Jabari Smith, find his secondary options. Sengun over on FanDuel, where he's only 7,300. He's okay over there. They've just been capping his minutes, though. I think because Houston's kind of pseudo tanking right now, they don't want to see Sengun go off too much. So, as good as he's been, I know he hasn't been great defensively, but he should probably be on the floor. So, I like Sengun, but I don't trust Silas to put him in, so or leave him in rather. So, I don't know that I get there. I don't know that I want to use up that center spot on someone who's going to be limited in terms of minutes. But yeah, Houston's okay. Much better if Kevin Porter sits, though. Really tough to prioritize anything here otherwise. So over on the Memphis side of things, another team on a back-to-back. I do imagine most of their starters will be in. Steven Adams is still out. So if we see Xavier Tillman starting at center again, he's going to look excellent. Really, really like him on FanDuel, where he is only 5,300. The main reason for that is that you're getting a center at power forward. And whenever I can do that, it's usually appealing. He's coming off a great game last night. It makes it easier to afford other payups too at that 5,300 tag. Just make sure again that he's in the starting lineup against some of these smaller teams. We have seen Clark starting at center at times. So if you go with Tillman, just be prepared to pivot once that lineup comes out. I think you should be able to have enough salary to do so. John Morant, one of the best guard payups on the slate. No surprise there. Outstanding matchup here against Houston. Just a team that doesn't play all that much defense. Certain matchups, you know he's going to go off. It feels like this is a really good spot for him. Even on the road in Houston, I like Morant. Dylan Brooks took a million shots last night. Not that many went in. He's okay as a value punt over on DK. Really don't like the guy. Not going to prioritize him. But if you're playing a bunch of lineups over there, he does have some merit. Desmond Bane's fine. Jaren Jackson Jr., very high ceiling. But yeah, those guys are kind of secondary plays. I do like Jaw a lot on both sites. I think if you can fit him, go ahead and do it. There's another guard we're going to talk about in a bit who I think is very much comparable. But yeah, if you can't get up to that guy, spoiler alert, talking about Dame Lillard, then go ahead and gets to some jaw. He looks excellent here. But we can move into the next game on the slate now. We have the Orlando Magic at the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are 7.5 point favorites at home. Another two teams on a back-to-back. So this is a bit obnoxious again. We don't have the injury news. It's tough to know who to target here, but I'll say this. I expect the Magic to be almost entirely healthy. Um, really not expecting any major injury news here, so I'm fine getting to Banchero, Markel Fultz. Those are the two plays I'm most interested in. Wendell Carter, where you could play him at power forward on FanDuel. He's a little bit interesting. But other than that, there's just no priorities here. I mean, both Wagners look okay. Wouldn't call any a priority though. Tough matchup against Milwaukee, and yeah, a lot of mouths to feed, which is limiting the upside of a lot of these plays. But we did see Bonchero have a really good game last time out. I still like his ceiling. Fultz, Carter, those are the other two I'd probably be considering. Over on the Milwaukee side of things, it was a back-to-back. They didn't run Giannis into the ground though, so I think he could play here. Working off that wrist injury, I wouldn't be shocked to see him sit. So if Giannis is in, he looks good. Fine play on both sides. Obviously, a good matchup against Orlando. If he's out, though, then Drew Holiday becomes excellent. Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez would see a considerable boost in their upside. And Chris Middleton, I think he played last night, so he probably sits tonight. Again, no injury report yet. But if he's in and Giannis is out, he's going to look pretty solid here as well. Would like to see him slide into that starting lineup to feel really good about him. But with Giannis out of the lineup, he only needs 25 to 30 minutes to probably hit value. So he'd be in play. Secondary options like Connaughton. Um, Probably wouldn't get to Jay Crowder much. Bobby Portis, who I mentioned quickly, if Giannis is out, I'm interested in. Same with Lopez. And Javon Carter, if he starts, sure, you could go to him. He's pretty inconsistent, but he has flashed a lot of upside in games that Giannis isn't on the floor. So I think Giannis plays personally, but if he's out, obviously we're going to have to load up on some of this Milwaukee value. So definitely keep an eye on this one. All right, moving into the 10 o'clock window now. I think this is the last game on the slate. Yep, we get the Pelicans at the Trailblazers. Blazers, 1.5 point favorites at home. We're looking at a 233-point game total here, so an excellent game environment. Um, yeah, we'll start with Portland. They're on a back-to-back. Another team on a back-to-back. Obviously frustrating. If Dame's in, he's excellent. Anthony Simons has been out. Yusuf Nurkic has been out, so he's seeing even more usage than we're used to seeing. Um, he's just been lights out. Obviously, not the best matchup. They do have some good on-ball defenders in New Orleans, but at the same time, I don't know that there's anyone on the slate I could trust to hit the types of ceilings that Dame has been lately, other than maybe Giannis, and Giannis is even more expensive. So yeah, just kind of looking through here, I'd probably have to move some stuff around to fit Dame if I wanted to. But you could technically fit Dame and AD here. Like I said before, maybe you go down to John Moran if you can't fit Lillard, but you could probably get two payups in as more value starts to open up. But yeah, no surprise there. Dame looks excellent. Matisse Thybulle, he's been starting, obviously not a high usage player, not a great fantasy player, but where he's cheap, he makes some sense, especially on FanDuel where you get those points for blocks and steals, etc. See a lot of ownership going to him. He's probably a little bit over owned, honestly. So I don't know that I want to go there, but yeah, he's definitely in play. Whoever starts really is going to be in play. Drew Eubanks at center with Nurkic still out of the lineup. Jeremy Grant, a little bit inconsistent lately, kind of working back into his regular minutes, but he has plenty of upside. And then Cam Reddish as well. If he's going to continue to start, I don't mind him here. Obviously, the prize is Dame. Keep an eye on this. Whoever else starts is going to have some appeal for Portland as well. Really strong game environment, but they are on a back-to-back, so do keep an eye on that injury news. Moving over to the Pelicans side of things. We got Larry Nance is out, Josh Richardson questionable, Joe Val is questionable, Zion is out, Alvarado is out. Man, so with Zion out, obviously Ingram and McCollum are going to look solid. They both look good here. Really like Ingram, 8-3 on both sides. He's the more consistent player with the higher floor. Also, probably is the higher ceiling compared to McCollum. You're getting a bit of discount on CJ, but I can see going to either of these guys. Like them both a lot here. If Richardson's out, that would be a boost to other wing players like Herbert Jones, Najee Marshall. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. If Joval's out, whoever starts at center is going to be a smash. It could be Jackson Hayes. It could be Willie Hernan Gomez. I know his brother got cut yesterday, so I was just trying to make sure he wasn't the one who is no longer on a roster. But yeah, if Hernan Gomez plays tonight, he's in play. He was a DNP CD last game out, so he was a healthy scratch. So proceed with caution there. But if Joval's out there, it's not going to have much in terms of bodies for the front court. So Joval's in. I like him. He's solid. Definitely sees a boost with Nance out of the lineup. But if he's out, Jackson Hayes starts. Hayes becomes one of the best value plays on the slate. But as things stand, I really like Ingram. Love him on both sides. McCollum solid there as well. And then keep an eye on that Josh Richardson news. If he's in, he's okay. If he's out, all the other wings are going to become appealing. That's Marshall, Jones, Murphy. And then, yeah, that's really it. I'm not going to talk too much about Dyson Daniels, but he should see a little extra run with Jose Alvarado out of the lineup. So let's take a look at what we're working with so far. Pretty chalky to start. Obviously, no surprise there. Maybe I go ahead and plug in Ingram. See what we're left with. Yeah, 5K per player. We got Rozier, Beasley, Ingram, Wiseman, Vandy, Davis. Keep an eye on that Lakers news. If AD were to sit, obviously all these guys are going to become outstanding value. If Giannis is to sit in Milwaukee, obviously a lot of value is going to open up there as well. So while I like these builds as things stand, definitely keep an eye on news throughout the day. Over on FanDuel, we're looking at Tillman at power forward. Make sure he starts. AD's in there. Beasley, Hayward, Lillard, Schroeder. Pretty easy to fit two pay-ups over on FanDuel. Would like a little bit more value to open up. But if you don't think you could fit both these guys, feel free to come off Dame for Ja Morant, or what do we have at power forward? I mean, you could come off Davis for someone maybe like a Julius Randle. But there's a lot to like on this slate. We got 9 games to choose from. Obviously, still waiting on a lot of news. Taking a quick look at ownership. The Lakers popping up there, no surprise with LeBron out. Rozier, now that LaMelo Ball's out. Lou Dort with SGA out. Again, injury creates opportunity in DFS. Similar over on FanDuel. No surprises there. A little bit surprised by that Matisse Thybulle ownership, but he's been seeing near 40 minutes a night, so I do get it. But once again, my name's Nick Marro. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's have some fun tonight, everyone, and make some money. Good luck and take care.